It's a third line day, and we are in gate 31, and the third line is called selectivity. Gates 31 and 41, the Sun-Earth position, are part of the incarnation cross of the unexpected, and leadership or influence can come from very unexpected quarters, and it can bring the unexpected with it too sometimes. In the exaltation, we have the ability to carefully assess and choose the proper influence and to tailor one's behavior accordingly. The capacity to lead enhanced through association with the proper influences. Selectivity is a natural leader's gift. There's no lifetime learning here. This is not a life process. When you begin to look at the structure carefully, you'll see that in certain situations, what appears to be a difficult structure may be exactly what you need. The third line leader can be unpredictable. There's no question about that. So the unexpected in this case is always possible, either in where they lead you to, or in what they lead you to, or in how they lead you. But at the same time, they learn from their mistakes. An unexpected leader is somebody you might elect to be a right-wing bomb thrower, and then they end up going to have tea in the Kremlin. Very unexpected. And this unexpected quality in the leader can bring enormous benefits because they learn from the process of discovery, and they are better leaders for it. Or they can learn how to be better politicians, which is quite a different thing. In the detriment, we have qualitative selectivity with the risk of runaway enthusiasm that may lead to humiliation. The drive to lead that will accept any follower and the risks. So the third, it doesn't know that there's another at the other end of the channel. And the 31 is designed genetically to have influence. The third line will expect to have influence. And the moment that there's someone who says, lead me, no matter who it is, they'll take them in. Now, the whole thing about leadership is that the quality of the leader is determined by those that connect to it. And the kind of leadership is connected to that aura. And because this is the logical collective process, there's no motor. It has no power. So gate 31, it's a projector gate, and the 731, of course, is a projected channel. So leadership and its leadership potential has to be recognized and invited. Otherwise, it will become bitter and resentful. It's so interesting when you become aware of the mechanic and you can see it playing out, and you see that our leaders do not really have any power. No alpha really has any power because they're not motors. The throat and the G center are not motors. Their power comes from having that energy offered to them for their guidance. This is the relationship between the generator and the projector. What happens in the detriment here is that it will take in any kind of follower. And that is like us taking in any kind of food, because the follower is the fuel for the leader. So this is the nature of the logic of leadership. It has to have money. It's looking for energy. The question of the 731 is always, where's the money? If the money is there, we can lead. And if I can lead, I can get more money. That's why we have so many corrupt leaders, because you cannot separate these elements. Leaders are starved for energy. Once they've been recognized and everybody says, you're a leader, you're my leader, then they want their reward. And this third line materialistic planet, well, it's not necessarily altruistic. Think about the third line as kind of combining the qualities of the first and the second line. The qualities of introspection and projection. Put them together and we have the potential for adaptation. This third line holds the key to successful political leadership because of its selectivity. Because it is about recognizing, first of all, who should be a follower. This is really important in terms of influence. If you influence someone who cannot implement your pattern, then there's very little impact. If you influence someone who can implement your pattern, your impact could be far-reaching. This is the nature of selectivity. It's not about how many people support you, it's about the quality of that support. So the grounding for the 31.3 selectivity is the 41.3 efficiency. This is a line that is telling us that we have to be careful about what kind of feelings we stimulate. And this really follows through, if you think about it, from being able to gauge the quality of the support and the followers that the leader is generating in order to effectively and efficiently select the right people to influence. Maybe the 31 can watch to see what kind of feelings this brings up in others and use that information in its leadership. Venus. Venus is moving into the logical Ajna gate 4 tomorrow morning at 2:01, and this is the gate of youthful folly, the gate of formalizations, with a need to understand things, to answer doubts, and to answer the questions of the collective, coming up with those concepts that may or may not have validity and that need constant testing and verification. Do you see the value in this process? If you don't have many logical activations in your design, this might not mean much to you. Have a look and see how this fits in with your design and your experience of life. This is a living experiment after all. The moon is still in the tribal ego gate 21 since 7:42 this morning. This is biting through the gate of the hunter or the huntress. This is a gate of control, and it is a strong force. It's something really, really positive in many ways to have on the material plane, with a need to be responsible and in control of its own life. It moves into the ego centering gate 51 at 17:09, arousing, the gate of shock, thunder over thunder, with the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. This is a gate which very often it's projected onto it that it is going to be very shocking. And people who have this gate can sometimes be under the misapprehension almost that they have to shock people. But a large part of carrying gate 51 in your design is that you are equipped to be shocked. Ra had this a couple of times in his design. And because of that, he says, he was able to withstand the shock of the voice. So it's not always about going out there and shocking. Now we also have Neptune hanging out in gate 25 in the G center. So we have the channel of initiation, and this is the design of needing to be first. Now, again, this can also be slightly misunderstood in that it becomes very, very competitive. And yes, it can be. It can have that quality, that element to it. But it's also about being unique and original. So this needing to be first is just needing to be first to do something. And it's not necessarily for anybody else other than the self. Centering is quite self-absorbed in that way. So it's interesting to look at some of these descriptions in a slightly different way, because we can get a little bit confused around what they mean. So I'm just offering you something different there. And the moon then continues its journey into the collective abstract gate 42 in the sacral at 2:38 tomorrow morning, the gate of increase, the gate of growth, the gate of endings, a gate that operates under a consistent pressure from the sacral to finish what has been started. And it will have the energy to see it through to completion if the process has been entered into correctly. And we sometimes forget that everything comes from something. So each cycle that is seen through to completion, it builds up on prior lessons, because this is all about the experiential abstract circuitry, which is always about the past. So it builds on those prior lessons that have been learned, experienced, reflected upon. And over time, those experiences create a foundation that ensures growth. And that is today's weather. Thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for a fourth line day. Take care. Go gently.